Hey YouTube, how's it going? How are you doing? How was your weekend? I hope no one's having the Sunday scaries. I hope everyone is going to chill out and relax tonight. And I'm so happy and excited to be here. It's another old Amway video, but we're going to go down one rabbit trail. It's a little bit random, but it's related. And I think it's super interesting to talk about this topic within the context of anti-MLM and recruitment practices. So I'm really excited for this. I hope you guys like the video. Hi, PH Actress. How are you? It's so nice to see you. I'm always happy when I see you here for the Amway one. So welcome. Lisa's here. Hi, Lisa. Cena. Hi, Cena. And Gary. Amanda. Lori. So many people are here. Woohoo. Monica waves. Hi, Monica. Lori, hello, Lori. Thank you for joining. PH Actress says hi to everyone. Monica said, lick the stream. Yes, lick the stream. If you enjoy the video, that would be awesome. Thank you for reminding us, Monica. So this is a video, a speech where we are actually going to see, we're actually going to have visuals for this, which doesn't usually happen. It's a guy named Lou Carrillo. He's talking about his experiences joining Amway. As you can see, I have it on 1.5 speed. I think at some parts it's fine. How do you get that off? At some parts it's fine. Other parts I think it's a little quick. Just doing this because it's very long and it's going to be 2 parts, but like just trying to get through it a little bit quicker, but please tell me if it's too fast. And we can put it to 1.25. Happy to be here. No performance today, so I'm here live instead of catching the replay. That's nice. What kind of performance do you do? Like, do you play an instrument? Do you sing? If you don't mind. If you don't want to answer, that's totally fine. So yeah, this is Lou Carrillo, and we're going to learn that he is the downline of Tim Foley, who we talked about in the last Amway video. Okay, I'm ready, and let's go.
All right. I think you guys are having a great time. Are you having a good time? Well, just remember that there's always a story behind every story. And I think that if you stop and think about it a little bit, you realize that a lot of us come from different backgrounds and we come from different careers. And I had a career also. I've had a couple of dreams in life, certainly before Amway. Amway was something.
What do we think about the speed? Too quick? Let me know. I can change it. Ooh, theater. That's so cool. I love that. I'm happy you're here. Yes, the title is very cringe, Monica. I completely agree.
That came along later on, but I've had 3 dreams in life. The reason I say that I've had only 3 dreams in life is because I believe that if a man tells me that he's got a dream every other week, then he doesn't understand what a dream is. A dream is a burn within, a burn. It's the burn is so high and so determined that you become obsessed with winning in a certain area. That's called a dream. You become like.
I think that's insinuating that if we're not winning in Amway, it's because it's not our dream. We're not obsessed. We don't have a burn or like an inner desire to achieve financial success in Amway. So if only we could see Amway as one of our very few dreams, then we could actually make money and get to Diamond Direct. He's going to say everyone can be Diamond Direct. It doesn't matter your background or your personality. You just got to believe. Of course, it's always just believing. Lisa said speed is fine. Okay, good. Let me know, anyone else, if it's a little too quick.
Like a fanatic. You become a man convicted to what you want from life.
I don't think you need to be a fanatic if you have a dream. Like, you could have a dream to just like travel to a certain place and say you don't have a lot of income, like a high amount of income, right? And so you have to work your way there slowly and save little by little, put aside just a little bit of your paycheck every single month or every week or whatever, so you can afford to, say, travel to Australia. And you're not fanatical about it. You're just planning. You just do it in a slow, reasonable pace so you can save for your dream trip, but then you still have time and money to do the other things that you need to do, like pay your rent and also just like go out with your friends. Oh, hey, Anastasia. Thank you for joining. We know what dreams and goals are, sir. We don't need to waste time with you defining it for us. Some dreams can come true, some can't, and that's okay. Amway is not anyone's dream. Not everyone dreams of being in sales. Love that point. So true, so true.
Become consumed, literally consumed with what you have decided to do in that particular moment in your life. And I know that you guys do not get consumed every other week, but I've been consumed a couple of times with something that I wanted so bad that I just couldn't let it go. First thing I wanted always in life, my first dream was to be a family man. I know this sounds weird to some of you guys, but I wouldn't wish my youth on you no matter what. I don't come from...
He's going to tell us about his kind of unstable upbringing, his experience living in extreme low income with his dad. I feel like a lot of them have a very rags to riches story. We hear like Dexter Yeager had a similar story. A lot of them have similar stories. Maybe they lived in an unstable environment, or they didn't have a lot of money, or they lost their job, which he's going to talk about. A really, in my opinion, deep story that we're gonna talk about a little bit, because I researched it for like 2 seconds and I couldn't imagine going through what he went through, and then having someone from a pyramid scheme getting on his ass trying to recruit him like they did. But let's let him talk and we'll get there soon.
From a good background. I was born in Queens, New York. I was raised in the Bronx. My mom and my dad divorced when I was very small. My mother died when I was 4 years old. My dad bounced around from marriage to marriage. My dad was a waiter. He didn't have much money, didn't have much of a lifestyle. I'm the only child. I have no brothers. I have no sisters. Always wished for one. Don't know what that's like. I wish I had a brother or a sister. Had no home life at all. Had to go to work when I was 14 years old, delivering newspapers out in the streets. I used to bring all my money at home, give it all to my dad so he could support him and I and the next wife he had, because he's had more than 2. I don't come from a very stable background. Some people call it a dysfunctional family. You call it whatever you want. Had one.
No problem. Bye, Lori. Thank you for stopping in to say hi. I really appreciate it, and I hope you feel better soon.
During my life early on, I just wanted to get old enough to get out of there. Some of you guys may relate to this. Some of you guys may not relate. What kind of people are Diamond Directs? Well, they must all be so stable. It's incredible. They must all be just perfect for this kind of business, and these guys are just born leaders, and they're just born diamond people. In other words, they just have everything in order. They come from this incredible background. They have this incredible base of operation. They're just so stable in everything in life that that's why they become Diamond Directs. Wrong. As a matter of fact, when you become a direct one day, and you start shaking hands with other diamonds, you start going to Diamond Club, you start meeting other guys, you're going to realize that a Diamond Direct is just a man and a woman with a dream. They're just common folks like you. That's why you qualify to be a diamond.
So the people who are Diamond Direct are just common folk like you and I, and that's how they qualify to be a diamond. So he has grew up in an unstable environment, family dysfunction, like Monica said down there. Really unstable. He had to kind of be an adult and work to give money to his dad to support the family. And he had such an unstable upbringing. And now look where he is. He's talking on some fancy stage somewhere in Amway, sharing his rags to riches story, how he was able to achieve his dream. So if he's able to do it with such an unstable childhood, then anybody could. Anyone can. Oh, yes, the typical MLM formula. Step 1, share your traumatic past. Exactly. The irony of what he's saying, they tell you if you join, you don't have to do certain things and have freedom. But the moment you join, you do exactly what they said you wouldn't have to do. Yeah. And you have to share the plan when they tell you to share the plan. You have to do it in the way they tell you to do it. You have to dress in the way they tell you to dress. You have to tell your story of trauma or of stress, maybe when you're not fully ready to. Everything is set out for you. There is no space for creativity and being an actual business owner where you can make those decisions yourself. But then they bring you in with the promise that you'll be independent and you can do things the way you want to do them, but you won't be by yourself because you'll have the support of your upline. But then when you're in, it's not just the support of your upline. You have to do exactly what your upline tells you to do. Here we go. Yes, dysfunctional family story. Exactly. No one thinks that diamonds come from stable backgrounds because every single person on stage tells us their life was completely miserable before Amway. At this point, I think trauma is required. Isn't it strange? We've talked about this before. In an average business workplace environment, you're not going to be encouraged to share trauma to find success in your office, in your retail store. You may have a solid relationship with HR, with your boss, that you can say, hey, I'm struggling a little bit. I might need to take some extra time off, and that's fine. That's not the same. But here, you're told you have to share trauma to be successful. It's so strange. So strange.
Just common people with uncommon dreams. So I come out of that environment, delivered newspapers, gave my dad all that money. He used to give me my allowance out of there. He used to buy my own clothes, go to school, run around barefoot in my underwear, I call it, in New York, in the Bronx. We used to live in a high-rise apartment. I used to sit on the fire escape, watch the subways go by, and wonder what it'd be like to one day have something. I lived in a little tiny bedroom with a little cot. My dad went to work every day as a waiter, and that's my background. That's where I come from. You might relate to some of that. I'm just a common guy. As I grew up, I had an attitude because I did not come from a good background. I got thrown out of a couple of schools, expelled from a couple of high schools. Just a terrible background. My first dream in life, as I began to realize that that was not the right way to come up, was to be a family man. I thought about the day that I would find a woman that I could relate to, she'd relate back, and we could be together for the rest of our lives. That was a dream. And I'm living today after...
That's another, I think it's a common thing. It's a common dream to want to find someone to relate to us, someone who understands us, someone we can share our life with. I think not everyone has that dream, not everyone has that desire, of course, but it's a really relatable dream. So I think it's a way, in my opinion, to make this man seem more like you and I than he actually is. Because if we're just joining under him or under Tim Foley at this time, we're not making any money, and we're probably realizing that men like him and Tim were bringing in huge amounts of money, and we're kind of wondering why. Like, what's wrong with us? Why can't we do it too? And then you hear Lou say, well, I just dreamed of being a family man, of finding a spouse and having children. It's like, oh, well, that's my dream too. I just want to be with someone who understands me too. And so then you feel like you can relate to them. Yeah, nothing wrong with selling newspapers. Exactly, Monica. It's not like you can take time off in an MLM, even when something new comes up that makes a great story. Yeah, you can't. Great point. Oh, I'm happy that we actually have visuals for this. Usually we don't have visuals for these speeches. I wish I knew when this was. Maybe early 2000s, because the visuals are quite good. Like, it's not super grainy. You can hear him pretty well. What do you guys think? When do you think this was posted? This was made based off the quality of the visuals.
23 years of marriage. Matter of fact, I wish that some of you guys that have been married 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and I'm sure there's plenty of you out there, I wish that the big leaders in the business, like Jim and Nancy Tony and all the rest of your leadership, one day, you know, this business includes a whole lot of stuff besides making money.
He said the big leaders like Jim and Nancy Doran. We did a video on their tool scam company called Network 21 1,000 years ago. So Jim and Nancy were top level distributors, had their own big ass tool scam company, probably had at least thousands and thousands of people in their downline. So this guy falls somewhere within that line of sponsorship. Yeah, not everyone dreams of having kids. That's really true. Yeah, but I just think like having someone to understand you who's on your side is a pretty relatable goal for some people. Not everyone, but some.
There's a certain stability that comes along with this type of business. And I wish some of these older folks that have been married for so long would talk to us and tell us how they made it through 10, 20, 30, 40 years of marriage. Because all of us that are living in this world today, we need more of that type of education. I want you to know that no marriage that lasts 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years is ever just rosy walk all the way through the process. All of us that have been married for any length of time at all, and you guys that have been married for a while, you know that you've been challenged in the past. Well, we've been challenged too, a whole lot, but we've hung in there. That was my first dream, to be a dad. I wanted to raise my own kids. I know it sounds corny to you maybe, or maybe to some of you. I wanted one wife. I wanted a set of children. For you guys that are young, that you're in the 20s, maybe early 20s, maybe you just got married. If I had to do it over again, I'm 48. I got 3 kids. If I had to do it over again, if you're going to build the Amway business to a diamond level or a successful big level, if I had to do it over again, I'd start earlier and have more. I wish I had...
It's a little strange to want to have a set of children. I don't know if that's just how people talked in this time. That's a weird way to describe your desire to have children. I had a point. Okay, do we think he's comparing marriage to our Amway business? Because yes, you're married. If you're married for any length of time, you're gonna know if you spend every single moment with your partner, then it's not gonna be perfectly lovely all the time. There's gonna be like little spats here and there. You're gonna have to talk through things. You're gonna have to put work and effort into maintaining a marriage. And maybe he's trying to draw the correlation between that and Amway, because if you want to find success in Amway, you need to work at it. You need to expect that it's going to be hard sometimes. You need to sacrifice. You need to be willing to do things that you don't necessarily want to do in order to find success in Amway. What do we think about that connection? And I think it's comical that someone's potentially comparing Amway to a marriage, because we know marriage is one of the biggest commitments you can make in your entire life. And there's no comparison between that and being in an MLM. What do we think? I think in Amway, the goal was for a man to find a woman to support his dream, not hers. Oh, interesting. I agree. It is misogynistic for sure. Yeah, I was like, there's no stability in this business. You're totally right. Thank you for bringing this up. He's lying about the stability in the business. There's a good deal of divorce, as well as couples who want to get divorced but are shamed in the business. And my organizations love to interfere with couples. And how creepy is that? Why is our workplace interfering in our private relationship, right? We've heard this before, though. People have shared in my chat that when they were like younger women, younger men, and we would get like their uplines would try to control who they were dating. When I used to read those Reddit Amway stories, people would say that their uplines would like worm their way into their dating life, tell them who they can see and who they can't. It's so outrageous that there's that level of control and observation. What am I trying to say? Why do they even have an eye on our private life? Why? I agree. It is freaking gross, Elaine. Agreed. Cult. I
had 6 kids instead of 3. I wish I had maybe 8. I love big families. I envy people that have such a great background. I never had it. I don't understand it. But that was my first dream, to have a family. And I'm living that today. We worked very hard to stay together for 23 years. We're still working on it right now. We work on it all the time. We talk about everything. We communicate constantly. If we feel bad about something, we just talk about it. We just keep talking and talking and talking and talking. And we're living that dream right now. The second dream that I had in life, I've only had 3. Second dream I had in life was to become an air traffic controller. I know it sounds strange, but I fell in love with that profession. I wanted to be an air traffic controller at a major hub. They call it major hubs. There's only a handful of them. It's kind of like being the elite of air traffic control. You got the big airports, Los Angeles, New York, Miami, Dallas, Fort Worth, Denver, Chicago's O'Hare. There's maybe 25,000 air traffic controllers in the whole federal system. And out of the 25,000 air traffic controllers in the whole federal system, you might have 500 that are the elite. Their GS-14s are called major hub air traffic controllers. I dream.
Out of the 25,000 in the system, only about 500 of them are elite. Interesting. So only a small portion of the air traffic controllers at this time were elite, just like only a tiny portion of people in Amway are of the elite status. However, we know if you're wanting to get into air traffic control, you're not entering a career, a system that's designed for you to fail or not make any money. I don't know what the training required is to get into air traffic control, but everyone has to go through schooling. Everyone has to get their certifications or whatever. Then they have to try to find a job, right? And not everyone is going to be able to find a job related to air traffic control because it's hard to find a job related to your schooling. It is. But that's not the same as entering Amway or any MLM for that matter and starting in a system, being in a system that's designed for a tiny portion of people to actually make money and the rest to fail. So it's interesting. Now he's telling us about this dream now because we're going to go down a bit of a rabbit hole shortly. Yes, nowadays it's the women who want to retire their husbands. Back then it was still a man's business. Great point. They will try to make couples and they will try to break them. That's horrifying. I can't believe that. Oh, hey, Anne-Marie. How's it going? Thank you for being here. Notice he just said I'd start earlier to have kids to appeal to the young people in the audience. Yeah, we hear that a lot nowadays where people will say, oh, I wish I started sooner. Why did I waste 3 years just stalking my upline? I should have started when I first when I first had the idea, when I first saw my outline on Instagram, right? The irony is the husband is not retired, he quit. He is not getting any retirement benefits. When they say retire the husband, it pisses me off beyond belief. Exactly. Exactly. They are not retired, they just quit their job. Oh, hey, Neil Williams. Neil said, this is interesting. I'm so glad you think it's interesting. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's keep going.
About that, I wanted that profession, and I worked my brains out to get there. Remember, I left home at the age of 18. I got out of high school, and I was gone in 2 weeks. I left my home immediately. There was no environment to live in right there. I got out of there. Maybe like some of you guys. Got out immediately. Didn't know how to make a living, so I joined the military. 1966 to 1970, I was a sailor. Spent all my time aboard ship in the North Pacific. That's how I spent my time. But I got out of the house because I wanted out. That was no place to live. If you've got that kind of environment, if you've got that kind of background, if you don't come from a good environment, you qualify to be a Diamond Direct.
If you don't come from a good environment, you qualify to be a Diamond Direct. If you have childhood trauma, if you had an unstable upbringing, that means you're qualified. So if you have trauma, then you're qualified to be at the top of the company. That's a little strange. Why are you saying trauma is a prerequisite? That's prerequisite. And the jobs I've applied for, my required experience is writing, is editing, is research, is analyzing mostly qualitative data, sometimes quantitative. It's reading different kinds of writing and coming up with my own analysis and conclusions. I've never had to have trauma to be successful.
One day we'd like to hear your story and tell us where you came from and how you did it and the things that you had to overcome. If you're a hardcore guy, if you're not sold out on Amway yet, hang around long enough. One day you might get sold out to the Amway business. As a matter of fact, part of the story is going to be the fact that I didn't relate to this at the beginning. I'm not an Amway type of guy. I couldn't relate to this. I didn't know I could stand up in front of people and talk to them. My wife had the dream first, not me. As a matter of fact, it took her almost a year to get me to show up at anything. I'm just like some of you guys. I have a career, I had a career, and I just didn't give Amway much credibility. Didn't understand.
He's just like you. He didn't believe in it right away. His wife was even the one who got in first and who saw the vision, saw the potential. And now look at him. He was a naysayer, and now look at him. He's at the top of the company speaking to this fancy crowd. Joining the Navy was a better decision than joining the MLM. You get paid, get benefits, and you make it to 20 years, have actual retirement. Exactly. This man would be in his 70s now if he was in his 20s in the 70s. These kinds of talks were the foundation of current MLM. So I looked up, I tried to find Lou Carrillo age, Amway age. It says he died at, oh no, that's DeVos. I want his birthday. I want Lou Carrillo's birthday. Yeah, because when did he say he joined the military? Was that the 60s or the 70s? Right? Yeah, so he would have been 20-ish in the 60s or the 70s. Yeah. Yeah, and so do we think this could be like the 90s? Or I don't know. It's so hard to guess. I wish these videos told us when they were posted because it's confusing. Okay, he said 66 to 70. Okay. Yeah. He does look 70. You think he looks 70, or do you think the video looks like it was from the 70s? I don't know. I can't tell.
Understand what they did, didn't understand how they did it. I was never a speaker, didn't know how to speak to anybody. I was afraid of doing that. I had a guy ask me one time, Louis, when you got an Amway, how did you start off? I said, I'm scared.
And he didn't have the skills. He wasn't a good speaker. He was terrified when he started, with good reason, which we will hear. And so he couldn't even talk in public. And now look what he's doing now. Because of Amway, he's a brilliant public speaker. Yeah, he does not look 70. I feel like he looks 40s. He looks like he's in his 40s, in my opinion. He's not 70 in this video. He's in his 70s now in 2023, probably. Yeah, he's probably 40. He probably looks 40-ish here, I think. It's hard to tell with men sometimes.
I started off so scared, as a matter of fact, that I couldn't believe it. But a man with a dream will not be denied. A man with a dream will not be denied. If it's a dream for you and it's a true dream, you will not be denied. You will be an Amway Diamond Direct. It's just a matter of time.
Just have a dream and you will not be denied. I dream of being an Amway Diamond Direct. Oh my God, I woke up and I'm an Amway Diamond Direct. If only it was that easy. If only life was that easy, right?
A man with a dream will face his fears. When you face your fear long enough, your fears will disappear. It's only a matter of time. I don't care what your personality is. I don't care if you're a great speaker or not a great speaker. I don't care if you're a loner or an introvert. That's what I was. If you decide that one day you're going to be up here on the stage, Dornan stage or anybody else's stage, if you're going to be a worldwide motivational speaker, you're going to make it happen, friend, because you're a warrior. You're a warrior in your heart, and you made a decision. You're going to make it happen, and you will teach yourself how to be a motivational speaker. You will come out of your shell, and you will do it, period. Lock, stock, and barrel. That's a man with a dream, period. I worked my brains out. I worked my brains out to be an air traffic controller. I ended up at Miami International Airport. 10 years at the big tower in Miami International. I love my career. I love my job. I want you to know I love every second of it. It was a dream. I was a radar certified full journeyman GS-14 air traffic controller at a major hub. I was living my dream. Made $40-some thousand a year. I guess the year that I got let go in 1981 with a big air traffic controller strike, I would have probably pulled in $47,000 that year, $48,000. Top of the line, you couldn't go no higher. GS-14 is it. GS-15, you got to manage an airport, and GS-16 is an appointment. I was at the top of my grade. I was at the top of my career. A couple of weeks ago, Foley and I sit down, Tim and Connie Foley are upline diamonds, and we started laughing. And Foley reminded me, he said, Louis, isn't this funny? He said, just think, it would have taken your entire 10-year federal career as a GS-14 air traffic controller to pay last year's tax bill. And I said,
it would have taken your entire career at the top of your field as an air traffic controller to pay your tax fees last year. No, it wouldn't have. In the 80s, he was making around $40-something thousand a year. Nowadays, that's not much. In the 80s, I feel like that would be a reasonable salary depending on where you are. What do we think, for those of you who were working in the 80s in the United States somewhere, was that a reasonable salary? I don't know. I feel like it would be. It could be in the 90s. Yeah, totally. Maybe. What do we think?
Isn't that funny? I said, isn't that a laugh?
Yeah, what do you think? 47K in 81. 47K in 81. He was at the top of his field. Like always, word salad, without telling you how to get to diamond. Tell me how to sell products, how to recruit, something beneficial I can implement to be successful in Amway. Exactly. It's never actual tangible tips. I was minus a bunch. I was not yet born.
Second dream was to become an air traffic controller. I loved every second of it, and I loved working at Miami International Airport. In 1981, here's the beginning of the story. In 1981, across the whole United States, there was a big air traffic controller strike. I watched 12,000 guys self-destruct. We accomplished nothing. Nothing ever happened. Matter of fact, it's the difference between a positive environment and a negative environment. You will do what you are motivated to do by your peers. You talk about a negative union. The Air Traffic Controllers Union prior to 1981 was called PATCO. I still carry my union card in my pocket. I got it in my wallet right this very moment. I want you to know that there was an attitude inside that union. We decided we were going to take on Ronald Reagan. We decided we were tougher than the government. We decided that we were going to shut down the skies. And we went on strike, August 3rd of 1981. What a mistake. We didn't win anything. We shut down nothing. As a matter of fact, Ronald Reagan was ready for the war. He warned us. I still got a letter from 65 senators that told us, don't do what you're about to do because we're going to fire every one of you, and we are prepared to go to war against your union. You are threatening the United States federal government. Don't do what you're going to, please, don't do what you're going to do. You're putting your careers on, we thought we were tougher than the government.
Interesting labor history story. However, why is this being told at an Amway business meeting? It's because it's just to show what he had to overcome. It's to show his background. And look, I was part of the 1981 air traffic controller strike, and look where I am now. Let's let him finish, and then we're going to go down a bit of a rabbit hole.
Went on strike, and folks, I went to jail. You see, I was vice president of Local 132, Miami International Airport. Took the life right out of me. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I got indicted by the government. They put me in jail for 2 days. I ended up with a felony indictment. I had to hire myself 2 attorneys. Remember, I told you there's a story behind every story.
Okay, I think we could do a bit of a rabbit hole just for a second. And I think like this is being told within the context, where's my mouse, of being recruited into Amway, which he's going to get to in a minute. And I was just nodding because I think, oh, my hair's crazy. Very few of us know what it's like to be a part of a, maybe I should let him talk a bit more. maybe no, let's just go into it. Very few of us know what it's like to be part of a true, like, really significant labor conflict, right? And like his life was like up in the air, his income was up in the air, his his career, his life was up in the air, and then he was let go. Like he was let go and indicted and worried about being sent to jail. And then within that context, he had an Amway distributor come and try to recruit him. Yeah. My dad worked for the railroad and made about $200 a week. That's about $10K a year. That's what I thought. I think it's also safe. I think also to say 9 to 5 is not the safe job. Oh, like, yeah, he was top of his career, making good money in a job he loved, and he was still let go, right? Yeah, great point. Yes, we're going to look at it. We're going to look. He was 20 and 66. He was born in 46. So he's 77 now. Oh, nice. Cool. So obviously, this is Wikipedia. But this is not a labor history stream, so it's okay. If you want to do more research on it, August 1981 air traffic controller strike, United States. I was just like, what is this? What were they fighting for? He seemed to have a really negative view of his union, even though he was his local president, which I do understand because the result of the strike was so detrimental to thousands of people's livelihoods. I understand if the strike had gone differently, he would have had glowing reviews of his union. He would have talked very positively of the strike. And so I just wanted to learn a little bit about it, why they were striking, what the general result was. All right. In February 81, PATCO and FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration, began new contract negotiations. Citing safety concerns, PATCO called for a reduced 32-hour work week, a $10,000 pay increase for all air traffic controllers, and better benefits package for retirement. Negotiations quickly stalled. Then, in June, the FAA offered a new 3-year contract with $105 million of upfront conversions and raises to be paid and 11.4% increases over the next 3 years, a raise more than twice what was being given to other federal employees. Okay, the average federal air traffic controller earned $36,000, which was 18% less than private sector counterpart. With the raises demanded, the average federal pay would have exceeded the private sector pay by 8%, along with better benefits and shorter working hours. However, because the offer did not include a shorter work week or earlier retirement, PATCO rejected the offer. So they rejected their offer. Neil said 48K in 81 is about 155K in 2003. Interesting. See? Yeah, it's good pay in 1981 for sure. I will still take my chances with a 9 to 5, right? Oh, yes. You are dropping all the facts, Elaine. Love that. Yeah. Okay, so read Elaine's comments. If you're in the replay, read Elaine's comments if you don't want to listen to my whole blabbing. Okay. Thank you, Elaine. At 7 a.m. on August 3rd, 1981, the union declared a strike seeking better working conditions, better pay, and a 32-hour work week. In addition, PATCO wanted to be excluded from the civil service clauses that it had long disliked. In striking, the union violated 5 U.S.C., which prohibits strikes by federal government employees. Anthony Skurklick of the Los Angeles Center warned that these unrealistic demands in the face of this change is suicide. Despite supporting PATCO's effort in his 1980 campaign, Ronald Reagan declared the PATCO strike a peril to national safety and ordered them back to work under the terms of the Taft-Hartley Act. Only 1,300 of the nearly 13,000 controllers returned to work. At 10:55 a.m., Ronald Reagan included the following in a statement. Let me read the solemn oath taken by each of these employees, a sworn affidavit when they accepted their jobs. I am not participating in any strike against the government of the United States or an agency thereof. I will so not participate while an employee of the government of the United States or any agency thereof. Did they repeat that? That was weird. He then demanded those remaining on strike return to work within 48 hours or officially forfeit their positions. That's horrifyingly stressful because what they're asking for better wages, a shorter work week, and better retirement benefits. That's all they were asking for. And however, they were breaking the law at the time to be striking, and the Ronald Reagan tried to force people to come back to work, and only 10% of the striking employees returned to work. After Patco disobeyed a federal court injunction ordering an end to the strike and returned to work, a federal judge found union leaders, including Patco president Robert Poley, to be in contempt of the court, and the union was ordered to pay a $10,000 fine, and certain named members were ordered to pay a $1,000 fine for each day its members were on strike. That's enough to bankrupt you. $1,000 each day you were on strike. Imagine the stress you're under, right? Where you really believe in what you're doing, you believe in the strength of your union, but then you could potentially be going bankrupt just to continue your striking efforts. At the same time, Transportation Secretary Drew Lewis organized for replacements and started contingency plans. By prioritizing cutting flights severely and even adopting methods of air traffic management that Patco had previously lobbied for, the government was initially able to have 50% of flights available. For those just joining now, our Amway friend is telling us that he was fired and indicted during the 1981 Amway strike, and he's telling us this, or not Amway, sorry, air traffic controller strike. He's telling us this story as a way to show us what he was able to overcome. He was indicted, he spent days in jail, and now look where he is. Look at his brilliant success in Amway, and it's also going to lead into his upline who tried to recruit him when he was dealing with the aftermath of this strike. On August 5th, following the Patco workers' refusal to return to work, the Reagan administration fired the 11,345 striking air traffic controllers who had ignored the order and banned them from federal service for life. In the wake of the strike and mass firings, the FAA was faced with the difficult task of hiring and training enough controllers to replace those that had been fired. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I want to see the part where the people were indicted. Who was indicted? How many people were indicted? I thought this included that. I thought this included it. Okay. Maybe it doesn't tell us about who actually was indicted. The economy in the 80s did suck. I remember that. Got you. Oh, and hello, Mr. Ranger Lab. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. Yeah, some stuff was left out of the story, and like he was indicted because unfortunately during this time federal employees of the United States were not allowed to strike, and all these people were fired because they weren't allowed to strike, and they did anyways. However, I can't claim to know what it's like to be part of a huge labor effort, to wonder if your income, your career is going to be over if you continue. The mental stress one would be under, just can't imagine it. I wish this Wikipedia thing said how many people were indicted, but it looks like 13,000 people were fired. They were ordered back to work, and then 11,000 people were fired. Yes, 11,000 people were fired who had ignored the order to go back to work. Okay, that's enough. And also, so his career as an air traffic controller was completely over at this point because he was barred from being in the federal public service for the rest of his life. He could go into the private sector, of course, if he wanted to be part of those private airlines where the rich people could go and get a private jet, but it's not the same, I feel like. And so his entire life was in upheaval during this time, which he's going to explain in a bit. So again, a little bit of a rabbit trail, but hope you liked it. I hope it provided some kind of context for what he's talking about. He might be telling, yes, for sure he is. Because he went through such horrible things during this labor strife. And now look at him. Now look, Amway was able to pull him out of this financial hole that he was in. Okay, let's keep going.
I had to hire myself a labor lawyer and a criminal lawyer to keep me out of jail. Got out on bond. Took the life out of me. My dream. They took the wind out of my sails. Everything I struggled for. I had to go down to the bank, plead that they wouldn't take my house. I had to go down to the power company and plead that they wouldn't turn off my lights. I had to go down to the phone company and plead that they wouldn't take my phone away. Couldn't find a job anywhere. In the military, I was an electrician's mate. I went to every electrical shop in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. I told them I would sweep the floors if they just give me a job, $5 an hour. Anyhow, carry your tools for you. As a GS-14 air traffic controller, I was making $23 an hour. I would work for anything. Just pay me anything, just give me a job. I couldn't find a job. I was one of those air traffic controllers that went on strike, and on top of that, I was indicted for a felony. Finally got myself a job in Fort Lauderdale parking cars. People that flip me quarters. And I take their Cadillacs and park them in the slot. One day, I'm an air traffic controller professional, and the next day, I'm parking cars in a restaurant. How would you feel?
He is talking about how he was working his dream job. One of his 3 dreams in his entire life is to be an air traffic controller. Was he at Miami Airport at the top of the big tower and just living his dream? And then during this huge labor moment in American history, he, for some reason, was one of the few people who were indicted, even though he said he was not the president, he was not the leader, and his entire life changed. He went from making what was a good salary in 1981 to being worried about how he's going to keep a roof over his head, how he was going to pay his bills, and he couldn't find a job, even though he was just at the top of his field. He couldn't find a job. He would work for $5 an hour. He just needed someone to pay him, and then he eventually started to park cars. And so in this context, you can see how desperate he must have been just to get his life back on track, try to move past the experience he had in the 1981 strike. And why was someone recruiting him? Why was someone trying to recruit him when he was in this kind of mental state? Yeah, at least I'm not scamming people and I'm getting paid. Yeah, he was definitely fear-mongering He was definitely fear-mongering for sure, but I think, I don't know, if anyone has been involved in a labor moment, a strike like this, where you were worried about how you're going to feed your kids the next day, I think, some of this probably is sincere. He probably did experience some of these emotions, but I think the purpose of telling the story in the way that he's telling it is to make it seem that Amway's better. I think Lisa said, kind of his way of saying, look, I had my dream job and then it all came crumbling down and I lost everything. And then Amway was able to come in and change my life, and I'm financially stable. I can take care of my family, blah, blah, blah. Look where I am now, right? And so he's not just sharing his experience to say other people who were part of a union, part of a huge strike and lost their livelihood just to connect with people. He's using that to compare and contrast his life during the strike and his life now, because if you compare it during the strike, extremely insecure, no money. He just got indicted, and now he is this fancy talking Amway guy in a lovely suit with probably hundreds of people listening at hanging on his every word. So definitely a way to make it seem like Amway is the answer to all of our problems, because it was the answer to his problems. Exactly. I agree. I don't know. I've never been a part of a strike like that, obviously. But yeah, I think definitely it would be if he wasn't sharing it within the context of the MLM. I would think he's just trying to share his experience, help people learn something new about labor history, a big labor moment in the United States. But of course, the motive in the MLM context is never just completely sincere. He's not just sharing his story as a way to teach us something about labor history. He's trying to bring in other vulnerable people because, look, he was probably more vulnerable than you were because he had no money And now look at him. I feel like I'm going to say the same thing over and over again.
Takes the wind out of a man's sails. You don't feel the same anymore. Right around that time, November of 1981, I got a call from a guy that I had met at a party. Back then, I used to put down a few suds. The guy called me up. We had a drink together. We were in a party together. He took my business card. My card, he wrote down my name and my phone number. I forgot about the guy. I didn't even know what he wanted from me. I was a cold contact for an Amway distributor, and I didn't know it. Right after that, about 4 months after that, I parked cars for about 4 months. Shortly thereafter, I got a job, finally. Still indicted for a felony. Going to court every other week. Going to court, going to court, going to court, going to court. Lawyers, fighting my case. I didn't call no strike. Why did they indict me? I have no idea. Out of the 12,000 guys that went on strike, they indicted 77 guys. Why? I have no idea. They never give us an answer. They wanted to make an example out of a handful of guys. Why they picked my name, I have no idea. I was never a radical. I didn't call for the strike. It was not my idea. I just went like anybody else. I don't know why they called on me. Got myself a job as a detective in Miami. The only reason I got myself a job as an investigator in Miami is because my neighbor felt sorry for me. My neighbor was a police officer in Miami, came to my house and said, Louis, I know you're in a lot of trouble. Come to work for me. I'll teach you how to be an investigator. I told him, I said, Tommy, look, I'm indicted for a felony. I could be going to jail any day. I know, we did it. I went on strike. I did what they told, whatever the newspapers say, I did that. I'm going to jail. It's over. And he said, look, he said, as long as you're not convicted, you can work at anything you want to work. I'll pay you enough to make your mortgage payment. Come to work for me. I jumped on that like a heartbeat. Got on that wagon there. I went to work for him. Started working as a detective. He paid me enough to make my mortgage payment. Started making my mortgage payment. Started paying my light bill. Started paying my phone bill. And we were eating every day. Right about that time, I get a call from this guy that I don't know. I said, what do you want? You would have loved to approach me.
So it seems like he was like in a slightly more stable environment. He had got a job offer from someone and he was able to actually pay his bills and feed him and his wife. So he was in a more stable environment. And then the person who wrote down his phone number and his contact info is going to start calling him. And so in the job that he was given, he was only able to pay his bills and not much more than that. And he was still vulnerable. He was still worried about whether or not he was going to jail. He still went through that whole time while he was on strike. He still didn't really know what his life was going to look like. So he was a little bit out of it, but he was still very much in the thick of trying to get his life back on track. Yes, it can happen in MLM too. Look what happened to that leader in Modere. He got fired, but wait, how can you get fired if it's your own business? Exactly. I agree. Why did Justin Prince get fired? Why did he get fired? Does anybody know?
This is why you don't want to keep anybody off your list. As a matter of fact, I hope that you're a guy sitting in this room with an attitude. I hope you're the guy sitting in this room that hates everything about this business. You don't want no part of Amway. You don't think you can do it. You don't believe it's anything. You think it's a pyramid. I want you to have the worst attitude in the world. Because if I can turn you around this weekend, if I can flip you the other way about this business before I'm out of here this weekend, you will be a diamond in this business because you will have an attitude the other way, just as hardcore as you have it against the business. You will be a hardcore for the business, and nobody will take it from you, period. Guy comes to my house. This guy comes to my house. I open the door. So what do you want? I'm standing there in a t-shirt.
They're going to be laughing a lot, and he's not really trying to be funny. And this person is just cackling. I wonder if at these Amway events, do people give them signals to laugh? Like, is that kind of written into the scripts, I wonder? So strange.
My underwear. Put a robe on. I said, come on in. You'd love this meeting, man. You'd love this.
Yeah, good point. He's like, oh, it's a pyramid. I think that should be a red flag if people are joking about whether or not your employment field is a pyramid scheme. If that is being brought up in relation to your job, maybe we need to do more research. Maybe we need to investigate why that accusation is even occurring.
He says, where's your wife? I said, my wife's sleeping. What do you want? He said, I need to talk to you about something that's very important. He says to me, go get your wife. I said, it better be really important. I'll be right back. I don't know why I did this, people. I want you to know that the Diamond Directs all have a story, and there's such a thin line, it's not even funny as to how people get in this business. I went to my bedroom. I told my wife, hey, come on, sweetheart. This guy wants to talk to us about something. I don't know who the guy is. Remember, I met this guy at a party. We had a couple of suds together. Come on over here. Let's talk to this guy and see what he wants. Kathy comes out in her robe. Who is this guy? I said, I don't know. Come on, sit down right here. I was just like some of you guys, really excited about this meeting. Hurry up, I gotta go to work tomorrow, man. What do you want? He starts building me a dream. I said, I beg your pardon? He says, if you had more money, what would you do? My wife is going, who is this guy? I said, you remember? Him and I had a couple of sets together. I don't even know this guy. He says, what's your dream? I said, my dream is to stay out of jail. What's your dream?
Why are we laughing so much? And someone said, are they drunk? Maybe they are, because he's not being funny and they're just cackling for no reason. And this person is like, oh, what's your dream? Oh, I just want to stay out of jail. What's yours? Like Anastasia said, maybe not all of this is 100% true. I did look it up. He was part of the air traffic control strike for sure. And I don't doubt that it impacted him at some point. It impacted him mentally. It made him more vulnerable. But we don't know if every single aspect of this story is true. We don't know which parts are exaggerated. We don't know which parts are potentially made up. It's to make him seem like a normal guy who had to overcome a lot of things to find success in his MLM. You're totally right. And yes, Elaine, no one has ever accused my job of being a pyramid scheme either. Wonder if it's an old-fashioned laugh track or someone holding up a sign. They're not told to laugh, but the ones who've been in longer amp up the engagement, and the new people are kind of swept along in the atmosphere. That's interesting. Thank you. That's interesting to know. Another current MLM tactic that apparently originated in Amway. I was totally against MLMs before I joined this one. Yeah. Because if this part of the story is true, which it may not be, he was kind of a jerk to this guy who showed up at his house. Granted, the guy should not be showing up at his house. That's fair. It's weird. However, he's like, oh, my dream's to stay out of jail. What's yours? And he was kind of like being snarky and getting up in his face a little bit, right? Because he was so against Amway. He didn't know what it was, but he was so against it and didn't want anything to do with it. That's a good point. Love that. Maybe, but it also sounded weird at the normal speed. Yeah, none of this is funny, Monica. I completely agree with you. I think the front rows at these things are paid to chuckle. Yes, there's one person who just cackles at everything. I'm like, this isn't funny, ma'am. It's not.
I'm still indicted for a felony. I said, do you know what trouble I'm in? Do you have any idea where I'm at here in life? I'm chasing bad guys in Miami. I don't even know what I'm doing. I could be shot any day. I'm sitting here. I'm an air traffic controller by profession, and you're asking me what my dream is. What are you, sick? I said, what are you doing in my house anyway? What's this about? What's your dream? I said, what's your dream? Now I'm messing around with this guy. You're going to love this meeting. You're going to love this meeting, man. I'm telling you. He says, well, my dream is to go to Egypt and ride camels. I grabbed my wife by the arm. I said, this guy wants to go to Egypt and ride camels. What time is it? I got to go to work tomorrow. What do you want from me? He says, well, this is you. And I'm looking over this guy like, what do you mean you? What does mean you? What is this circle with you? I said, give me your pen. You want me to put little eyes and this is you? Put a little smile on his face, you know? Is this me or this you? This guy's really weird, Kathy. Back up a little bit. Just back up. This Amway guy's strange. He gets into his thing. Folks, let me tell you something. I don't know why I did this. I told my wife, give me the checkbook. She says, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to pay this guy the $75 for this box he's got. Got a box next. See the box right there? If I can buy the box, he's out of here.
So he, again, who knows if this entire interaction is true, is fully true, if he did draw a little face in the circle, because Tim Foley was just trying to probably show him the plan and show, like, look, this is you at the top of your little pyramid, and then you're going to recruit people, and then they're going to recruit people, and so on and so forth. And PH Actress made a good point here about he's making light of the fact that the person who contacted him didn't tell him the whole truth about what he wanted. It's to soften people to the idea that it's okay to lure people with little info. With how he's describing it, if Tim was actually... No, I don't think Tim was there, because he's going to tell us part of it later. a different part later. So Tim was not the one who showed up at his house. If this person had actually gave him a speech about what Amway is, told him about the products, told him about how much it costs to run your business, told him about you have to sell and you have to recruit, then he would have probably shared that. He probably would have said, and then this person gave me a really good description about what Amway is and gave me a good idea about what I'd actually have to do. But no, he didn't say that. He just said that he's trying to lure him into the idea that Amway can help us achieve our dreams, and maybe insinuating that Amway can help separate him from his past with the air traffic controllers strike. Yes, red flags, exactly. Agreed. This whole situation is awkward. If this man just showed up at your house, it was late at night, your wife is sleeping. He's like, go get your wife right now. It's like, no, my wife is sleeping. I need to get up early in the morning. Go away. This is a common tactic at open meetings. They know that people are highly uncomfortable contacting, showing the plan, so that instead of it being weird, it just becomes part of your diamond story. Oh, like the idea that some rando shows up at your house and it's so funny and so quirky, but in reality, if you think about it, some rando shows up at your house, like you said 2 minutes ago, PH actress, tries to lure you in to this unethical business opportunity where you don't actually have any information, you don't have any info, and they're just trying to pull you in without you actually being able to make an informed decision. Oh, I hate it.
Now watch. Now, some of you guys are going to relate to this. Some of you guys are going to relate to this because this is life in Amway. It happens all the time. Who are the diamonds that do this thing? I don't know. If you ever figure it out, let me know, because I'll sponsor diamonds every time. Diamonds are just like you, people that get in by accident. So give me the checkbook. Gives me the checkbook. She goes and gets the thing. I write it out for $75. I hand the guy $75. I said, is that for the box? He said, that's for the box. The guy didn't give me any tapes. He didn't tell me about seminars. He didn't do all the right things that you guys are told all the time. He didn't do nothing. He gave me the box. I gave him the check. He left my house. I opened my closet. I threw the box in the closet. I shut the closet. I walked away from the whole thing. And I said, man, that's the weirdest experience I ever had in my life. The guy's out of here.
And if you have to purchase something to get a salesperson out of your house, then that's not a good way of running your business. That should be a red flag. You should think, hey, am I going to be required to harass people in their homes? And am I going to be required to force them to buy something they don't actually want just to get me to leave? And again, like I think Elaine said earlier, is this part actually true? Did he actually just buy the box to get the guy out of his house and just shove it into his closet? Because if he did, if it is true, that makes him more relatable, because he bought the box but then didn't actually start to run his business until significantly later. Nowadays, we hear in the MLM world that people say, well, I signed up 5 years ago, but I didn't actually start until 2 years ago, right? Oh, I just used the products. I recruited 1 or 2 people here and there, but I didn't actually start building my business until later. So Lou did not actually start building his business until a little bit later. Yes, it's so quirky. No, it's threatening. It's strange. I've heard tons of outrageous stories like this. It also makes you feel like it's not weird that someone did this to you. Yeah, I understand that. It's super weird, super invasive. Someone should not be coming to your house. But maybe at that time, maybe in like the 80s, that's more normal for people to just show up at your house. Anyone who remembers the 80s, was that a normal thing? Was that an average everyday thing? Because now people don't just show up to your door, at least where I live.
Are you ready for this? Listen now, listen. Never saw that man again. Never saw him again, ever. Cost him a lot of money. Real bright. He'd have an executive diamond downline today. Why didn't he hang around? You know why? I signed that little piece of paper in November of 1981. He signed the paper prior to September. He had to renew. I didn't. He didn't renew. I didn't have to renew. I slid into the next calendar year by accident. Matter of fact, I'm an Amway accident. I'm an accident being here. Aren't you an accident being here? We're all accidents.
So he said if this guy did renew his contract, I guess, to be an Amway distributor, he could have been an executive diamond because Lou Carrillo was in his downline, right? Why does it matter? Why does it matter if, why would one person, sorry, what am I trying to say? So he's saying that if this man stayed in, he would have automatically been at the top of the company because he had Lou in his downline. Why should one person make or break your business so much? Why just Lou being in this man's downline make him be at the top of the company, right? That should be a red flag too. Oh, Tim Foley did not show up. Yeah, I made a mistake there. Tim Foley did not show up. He didn't see the guy again, and I'm assuming maybe he was like funneled up to Tim. Yeah, I misspoke. It wasn't uncommon. We didn't have the issues to the same extent as we do today. We were so afraid of strangers in some ways, although it was the start of the whole stranger danger thing. Okay, gotcha. So it wasn't super weird for someone to show up at your door, but you would still be careful, right? Someone that desperate for money paid $75 for something he didn't really want just to get a salesperson out of their house. Yes, I'm very much doubting the truth of that part of the story. Thing is, there's no way to validate it, right? There's no way to validate it. Could be true, probably not. It just makes him seem more relatable, right? I was not alive in the 80s, but I know there was a little bit of door-to-door sales at the time. But if someone made an appointment with you ahead of time, they should tell you the actual reason for it. Exactly. The last time someone stopped at my apartment was for selling a Kirby vacuum. I bought it. I didn't know any better back then. Oh no, I'm sorry.
Since I went to work every day. Went to work. I forgot about Amway. You think I was doing Amway? Get out of here. I'm not going to show no plan. What is this stuff? Talk to somebody about Amway. Give me a break. You get an Amway, start showing the plan right away? I didn't even know anything about it. I didn't even open the box, as a matter of fact. Now that I think about it. Didn't use the soap, didn't do nothing. Not long after that, I got a call from Upline somewhere. Hello? Yes. My name is so-and-so. I say, yeah, what do you want? What's your name again? My name is so-and-so, and I'm your Upline direct. You are my Upline, what? Hey, Kathy, it's another one of these Amway guys. He's on the phone. They call themselves names, something direct. I don't know what that means. Listen carefully, Ace. I'm going to tell you this one time, only one time. That was an accident. I was doing your man a favor. You follow me? I ain't doing Amway. I ain't doing Amway now. I'm not doing Amway next week. I got a job. Don't bother me anymore. I don't even know what you want from me, but I ain't doing Amway. You got it? Don't bother me anymore. I don't know what you're direct, no direct, this direct, that direct. How about direct yourself out of my life? Click. Hey, you know what? I know that nobody in here's like that. It's only Carrillo. That's it. You guys all got in. You love this from day one. You thought this was the greatest thing in the world. Some of you guys might have an attitude like that. Hey, one day you might be going like this as an executive diamond somewhere. That'd be a story, wouldn't it? Time goes on. They call me again. Hey, I'm your Upline, this and that. Get out of here, your Upline. Up your line, Ace, you know? Well, you know, it's like anything else, right? They try this 3 or 4 times, whatever. That don't work. So I get another phone call one day. The guy's on the other end. Oh, I'm the Amway business, this and that. Is your wife home? They knew they weren't going to get to me, so they got to her.
People, according to his story, people were calling him. He kept saying, oh, I'm going to go upline for you. I don't know. Like jokingly threatening them, telling them to stop bothering him. And then they tried to talk to his wife. And so then that's sketchy. If that actually happened, that's weird. I feel like we should just take no for an answer. We should just respect people when they say that they're not interested in the opportunity and not try to recruit their spouse. This was a time when we would play on our bikes at our neighbor's house with their kids till it got dark. Gotcha. He's making it seem like if you're so aggravating to someone that they will buy something just to get rid of you, it's a good thing. The person could be your diamond ticket. It's okay to harass. Yeah, it's normalizing really shitty, bad behavior. Trying to make it seem funny, trying to make it seem lighthearted. Oh, it's so comical. This guy harassed me to the point that I just bought something to get him out of my fucking house. It's not funny. If this is true, it's not funny. It's not funny. And it's a really shitty tactic to be advertising to potentially hundreds of people at this event. It's clunky, it uses a bag, so it's big. I hate it. I would have preferred a Dyson or a Roomba. Yeah, fair. Those Kirby vacuums, they're expensive and they're big. If he was that hard up, he wouldn't have spent the money, or if he did, they would have used the products. He didn't tell us whether or not he actually used the products or if it just sat there in his closet for a million years. We don't actually know.
Hey, Kathy, one of these Amway guys. Here's the phone. Have a good time. I'm going to work tomorrow. I'm still indicted. I want to keep saying that because there's a story behind that. I'm indicted for a felony. They invite her to a meeting. The woman goes to this meeting. I couldn't believe it. She comes over to me and she says, I'm going to a meeting. I said, what kind of meeting? She says, an Amway meeting. They sucked you in, huh? They sucked you in. Yeah, you're up, whatever it is. You're up guy. You know, the up guy. Got you right in there. Yeah, I got it. You got it. You got it. Oh, yeah, they got you. No problem. They got you. She goes to an Amway meeting. I know it doesn't happen. It's only on the East Coast.
I know he sped up. It makes it seem like it's more comical than it actually is, right? But, oh, that up guy, they sucked you in. If you think about it, like I just said, he said no. They tried to suck in his spouse and they succeeded. So what if, like, translate that into daily life? Your friend asks you to join Amway with them. You tell them no. Does that mean that they're going to start harassing your spouse? Are they going to start calling your spouse until they join that person, right? And then your spouse joins, and then you're more likely to join because you want to support your spouse, right? Even if you think it's a scam, like he said, you're probably going to join so you can be with your spouse, spend more time with your spouse. Yes. If you continue to harass me, I'll block you. Today I got dragged to a timeshare sale. You have to put your foot down and say, no, I got out unscathed. It's good that you're able to, like, verbalize what you need and just say that up front. Not everyone can. I feel like a lot of people are worried about coming across as rude, about hurting someone's feelings. But I think even if we're like that, we should try really hard to just think like, what do I need? What do I want right now? Am I comfortable? Do I feel secure in the situation? And if the answer is no for any reason, it's totally reasonable and valid for us to exit that environment. I know it's really hard if you try to avoid confrontation, but potentially I think MLM distributors are trained to find people like that who might just want to please you and say yes just so you're not mad at them. Yeah, they're making toxic behavior seem lighthearted and funny, but it isn't. Exactly, Rachel. Exactly.
Only guys from New York City go through this. No California people do this stuff. Just the East Coast. She goes to a meeting, comes back. Hey, Louie, what? She said, did you pay attention to that Amway thing? I said, wait a minute. I ain't paying attention to no Amway thing. I ain't doing Amway. You read my lips. You understand English? I got a job. I'm going to try to stay out of jail. If I get out from under this indictment, I'm out of here. I got a job. I'll work my brains out. I'll make it happen. Don't worry about it. Relax. I ain't doing Amway. I know it doesn't happen on the West Coast. It's only the East Coast guys that act like this. Hold on a second. Hey, wait a minute.
Were they like hitting their feet against the ground? Let me go back because I felt like they were like hitting their feet against the ground. Do you think people in Amway events were told to do that? If so, that's culty too. Can you imagine like hundreds, thousands of people sitting there stamping their feet against the ground in perfect unison? Let's re-listen.
Hold on a second. Hey, wait a minute.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe it's just the audio, like the clapping being picked up kind of weird by the microphone or something. But again, he's so vehemently against it, and he's trying to really over-exaggerate his opposition to Amway, over-exaggerate his reaction to his wife going to a meeting. Again, make it seem more relatable. I hated Amway. I was shocked my wife wanted to join, and now look at me. Like Lisa said earlier, in current day MLM, there's always that now. I was the biggest MLM hater before. I thought it was such a scam, but I was just ignorant. I was just uneducated. And now I can see that Monet has changed my entire life.
Wait a minute. A couple of weeks go by, they get her into these meetings, man. I couldn't believe it. You guys will understand this. I got my wife. I mean, they're hooking her into this. I can't get her out of Amway. She walks in the house, keeps going to these open meetings. You know, this is you, 642, back and forth. Going, oh, my God. The woman is getting me. I mean, it's like week after week she's on me about this Amway thing, right? She's got a dream. I said, hey, go do Amway, man. You know, nah, rock and roll. Do your thing. Don't bother me with Amway. That's for women anyway. Go do it, man.
So now he's saying, oh yeah, go, whatever, go do it. And he's really against his wife doing it. So he doesn't want anything to do with her. Not to do with her, to do with her experience in Amway. Felt like that when I was younger. When it comes to an MLM or salesperson, you can't worry about their feelings because they don't care about yours. It's your money and well-being. Exactly. You have to protect yourself. Exactly, Monica. Great point. I bet every time he tells a story, he adds in another bit, right? There's so many bits. He is a good speaker. He is charismatic. He's a good looking fella. I could see why a lot of people would want to listen to him. You say, oh, Amway's for women anyways. I don't care. You just go do it. I hope you weren't talking like that to your wife, sir. This is true. I hope you exaggerated that part because if you talk to her like that, that's not very nice.
I told her if I'm going to do Amway, I might as well do Mary Kay. You know what I mean? I ain't doing it. This goes on some more. One day she comes home. She says, you know where I'm going? I said, where are you going? Is it Amway? This is going on for months. Months, guys. This is not a week or two. This is months. I'm going to this thing called a function. I said, who told you to go to a function? She said, well, Tim said. I said, who's Tim? You know, she says, you know, Tim Foley's a football player. You know, he used to play for the Miami Dolphins, and you know, you know, he wears a big shirt. I said, look, I don't even like football. I don't follow football. I don't know no Tim Foley. I don't even want to know him. He does Amway. Yeah, he does that. Well, go do Amway. You're gonna go where? You ain't got no money. She says, oh yes, I do.
So at this point, he hadn't met Tim Foley yet, and so I misspoke when I said that Tim Foley showed up at his house. But Tim Foley is like probably the upline of his direct upline. And this is the first time that we've heard Tim Foley come up in conversation. And he said, well, you got no money. The misogynistic part of it, assuming like, well, wife, you can't afford to stay in Amway on your own to invest in your business because you don't have any money for yourself. That's not very nice. Find a way to say no in a polite way, but if they keep insisting, I'm rude. Exactly. Or I'm just gonna walk away. It took a while, but I remember hearing this tape when I was little. Really? How interesting. That's happened a few times when I do these older Amway videos. People often say, oh, I saw this person speak. I remember this tape. Wow, that's so interesting. Do you have any idea when this was made? If not, it's okay, no worries. But how interesting is that? Whew.
And I said, where did you get your money? She says, you may not remember, but as you're working parking cars and now as a detective, remember I was cleaning houses? I said, yeah. She said, remember every time I clean the house, they pay me $30? Remember I did that for months? She says, I saved some of my money. She says, I'm going to go to a major function. I said, well, go ahead and go. Don't worry about it. I'll just stay here with the kids and you go have your thing and go do your Amway deal. And, you know, when you get done, come on back and I'm going to work. I mean, we'll come out of this thing. I'm still indicted. She goes up to an Amway function, something like this. Probably a lot smaller, maybe just a chunk of people like that. She's in that room with maybe an upline diamond. I think it was a child or something or other, whatever it is. She goes up there with Tim Foley and Connie Foley and all these other people. Everybody's all juiced up. I'm at home. I'm indicted. I'm going to work. It's either going to work or going to jail, one or the other. Not sure yet where I'm going to end up, right? But I am indicted. Comes back from that Amway function. Her eyes are as big as plates. Louis. I said, what? Louis, this Amway thing is bigger than you think it is. I thought to myself, it's in my house. I'm thinking to myself, Amway is in my house, man.
She used the money she made from cleaning homes when he was, I think, working as a detective. She went to the event. It was a small event with Upline Diamond, Tim and Connie Foley. And then she comes in and she says, oh my goodness, Louie, it's amazing. It's amazing. Her eyes are as big as saucers. That shows the purpose of these events. It's really to get you fully invested in the business, to get you bought into the vision, to get you ready to submit to your upline, to buy all the tapes, all the books, to go to all the functions, invest all your time and energy into showing the plan 5 to 6 nights a week. I did not make a plan as to when I was going to stop this. I kind of want to get through a little bit more and then we might stop it. So we may or may not stop it at a silly time. I'm sorry if we stop it at an awkward time. It was common male behavior. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Every week she's going to Amway meetings, she's sponsoring people, she's having a good time, she's going to seminars, this and that, back and forth. And I keep telling her, who keeps telling you to do this stuff? She said, well, Tim said, I should do this and I should do that. Who's this Tim guy again? Football player, Miami Dolphins. He played Super Bowl, the Super Bowl 1972, perfect season 17. I remember he was a safety. He was one of the big shots, Never heard of him. A couple of months go by. Folks, we're in this thing now 6 months, 8 months. I haven't hit a lick yet. I know it doesn't happen on the West Coast. It only happens on the East Coast. I keep going back to that because I know you guys are into this immediately. She comes home one day. She says, I'm going to another major function. I said, what are you talking about function? Where are you going now, woman?
Can you hear me? It looks like I may have clicked my little button that muted me. I'm just going to wait till my friends... Is it still gone? Can you hear me now? Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. You see? That light was red, so I must have pressed it by accident. Okay. Yay, that was so stressful. Okay, thank you, friends, for telling me right away that I was muted. So I was just talking about Neil's comment here. We've heard quite a few people in my streams talk about growing up hearing these tapes as little kids. Of course, as a little kid, you don't see anything wrong with it because you don't fully understand what you're hearing, but we've heard people talk about how it's just like part of their life. It was just part of their daily routine. Instead of listening to music, they listen to these tapes every day on the way to school. Thank you, everyone, for telling me. I appreciate it so much. Everyone's like, yes, we can hear you. Okay, thank you, friends.
She says, I'm going to this thing called free enterprise. I said, who said it? She says, well, Tim said. I said, Tim, I said, this Tim guy's costing me money.
And all his wife did was just do what Tim said. She did what Tim said. She was able to convince Lou to eventually join with her. And now look where they are. They're the direct downline of Tim and Connie Foley. He's speaking on stage. He's probably making a crap ton of money from the tool scam in addition to the Amway comp plan.
You keep hanging around with Tim and Tim and Tim and Tim and Tim. This guy's costing me money. I better go meet this Tim guy.
Why don't we end it here? That's actually good. So I'm literally just going to take a picture. That's a good spot to end it. So we're gonna continue this at 34:03 exactly. 34:03 exactly. So we learned about his background. We learned about how do I get this comment out? We learned about how he had a really tough upbringing. We learned that he was part of the 1981 air traffic controller strike. He potentially could have lost his livelihood. He spent 2 days in jail. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know how he was going to pay his rent or pay his mortgage. He went from job to job. He found a job where he was able to take care of his basic needs. And then his direct upline, not Tim Foley, his direct upline kept getting on his case. He bought a product, and then the wife joined Amway, met Tim Foley, and she started to go to all the functions. She was really bought in. Lou wanted nothing to do with it. And then eventually Lou was ready to actually meet Tim Foley, NFL superstar, Super Bowl, whatever, perfect season. Of course, if you're a celebrity, if people know your name, you are going to have an easier job finding success in an MLM because you already have a built-in audience. People know Tim Foley's name, I'm assuming at this time. People knew who he was. He kind of had a built-in following, and so it's more likely that people are going to join him than it would be some average person in 1981. Word salad galore. How is this supposed to entice me to join? Culty and creepy. Yeah. It hasn't really gotten to like the full meat of it yet, but we will finish that during my next stream. But I completely agree. If his story's true, he was so against it. He was kind of mean to his wife for wanting to be in Amway. He's like, Amway's for women. I might as well do Mary Kay. How rude. Didn't remember his wife cleaned houses for a long time and made her own money. How rude is that? If that's true too, that's also freaking rude. Exactly, PH Actress. We learned nothing about what Amway is. We learned nothing. We learned about his rags to riches story. We learned about how he was vulnerable when he was recruited. We learned how he was rude to his wife when the wife was part of it and he wasn't. That's all we learned. Oh, yes, Mr. Ranger Lab agrees. Okay, that's all. That's all I have for today on, I think, Tuesday. Because I don't have a lot of time to stream on Tuesday, but we have it at 1.5 speed. We have 26 minutes left to get through, so I should be good to finish it up. If I can't finish it before I need to leave, then we can just like finish the last little bit of it. Like we can tack it on to whatever the next stream is. You know what I mean? It'd be a little weird, but we can just finish it in the next stream. But the intention will be to finish it next time. Yes, fascinating and fucked up, but interesting. Yay, I'm glad you liked it. You had to go door to door or chat to people at swap meets or the grocery store. This is way before social media. I'm wondering how this famous guy did it. Interesting. Good questions. Bye, Monica. Yay, lick the stream. Lick it. I can't stand him either. Fair. Okay, this was awesome. Thank you so much to everyone who joined me. There's so many people here. It was so cool. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you for part 2. Bye.